Hello Bookish friends, I'm back from the 3-week employment in the disaster reconstruction activities in Hatay. For those 3 weeks, I've been putting out pre-recorded videos. Now it is time for me to do my wrap-up video for the second half of November. In the second half of November, I read 4 books and DNF'd 1. And like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will include the clips that I've recorded quite soon after I finish those works. Today is the 20th of November and I finished the book that I took out from the library, which was also a potential Turkish shelf book. Annemin Öğretmediği Şarkılar by Selçuk, Altun. This book was translated to English as Songs My Mother Never Taught Me. In this book, we follow the perspectives of 2 young men. One was born in quite unfortunate circumstances, and because he decided to kill the person who killed and also raped the woman who raised him, becomes a hitman through different circumstances. And at the same time, we also follow the son of the person whom the hitman has killed as a first victim, and how their lives do interconnect through different characters and many places in the city of Istanbul. I plan to do a more dedicated Turkish shelf video of this book, but overall I can say that I really like the writing style of the author. He uses the words in the prose very well. The descriptions of the city and the historic places in Istanbul was a delight to read. And I also quite liked the overall plot and especially the ending of the book. However, I have to say the characters, with the exception of the 2 main characters, felt really two-dimensional. To be honest, even though they were more complex, I also didn't like the main 2 characters. So it took a bit of time for me to finish the book. But like I said, I really like the writing style of the author, and I am very eager to try another book from him, in which I will hopefully like the characters much more. Overall, this was a decent reading experience for me, and I gave Annemin Öğretmediği Şarkılar by Selçuk Altun a 7 out of 10. Today is the 22nd of November, and I finished the audiobook that I was listening for my in-person book club, which was a Turkish mystery book titled Kimdir Bu Milat Karaman by Doğu, Yücel. In this book, we follow Milat, who's very proud of being alone and being antisocial. However, his life changes a lot when the doorbell of the apartment door rings and he lets out a stranger in the building. And the next day, he finds out that his upper floor neighbor, whom he is very fond of, falls from the balcony because she has been afraid of the intruder and thief who went into her house. Milat, feeling very guilty about his involuntary part in this incident, decides to do what he can for the apartment and for making the dead woman's soul comfortable. After listening to the first chapter of the book and having a big dilemma about whether I should DNF this book or not, because the content matter was incredibly gross, deciding to go on with the story, especially after the falling incident happened. The story got more and more interesting. The writing style, although it was too male-centric, was very raw and quite witty. I really liked the humorous bits in which Milat mentions his interactions with the people in his apartment, because some of the incidents really felt recognizable and also relatable in some parts. The character of Milat, although he was a fool at some parts, was quite likable, especially towards the end of the book. Interestingly, with all of this social commentary, the mystery was quite good. So to be honest, after listening to the first few chapters, I never thought that I would give this book an 8 out of 10, and decide to read the sequel book. Today is the 25th of November, and I finished the book that I was buddy reading with Loretta, which was the last book in Dexter's series. Dexter is Dead by Jeff Lindsay. This book starts right after the end of the previous book. We follow Dexter as he tries to clear his name from the crimes that he is accused of in the previous book. In order not to give spoilers, I will not give details, but his relationship with his sister Deborah and his brother Brian drastically changes in this book. And Dexter finds himself in between the events that are related to Mexican drug cartel, a very shady lawyer, also a very incompetent police officer who's intent on proving Dexter's guilt. Unfortunately, this book was quite a disappointment for both of us. First of all, the plot of the book was very slow and included many unnecessary details, which feels like they were filler material to make this book a complete novel. Considering that the previous books had excellent tempo, this was, I think, the biggest disappointment that I've had from this book. And also, although Dexter and the other secondary characters all suffered quite traumatic events, both Loretta and I felt like they were not acting according to their characters. Their characters were constructed so well in the previous books. I sometimes felt like they were faking some of the actions that they took. However, this was not the case. So overall, this was a very big letdown in terms of concluding the series. Excluding this book, I am very glad that I read this series with the recommendation of late Alice. That could be one of the reasons that this book was such a letdown for both of us. Overall, I gave Dexter is Dead by Lindsay a 6 out of 10. Today is the 26th of November, and I've decided to DNF the book that I was reading for book club, which was The Understory by Saneh Sangsuk. And this book follows the story of an elderly religious man who is now staying in an Indian village, and he is a masterful storyteller. And throughout the book, we follow his stories, which also includes anecdotes from his life, and also mostly his environment. Although this book was written very beautifully, I've decided to DNF this book because I failed to become engaged with it. Although there was an overall plot, it flowed very slowly, which was not something that I could bear right now. Also, there were rarely paragraphs in the book, which made it quite hard for me to follow as well. I really do like a neat structure in writing, especially if I'm reading it with my eyes. That's why I've decided to DNF the Understory, since I have so many other books that I'm interested in reading. Today is the 1st of December, and late last night I finished the book that I was reading for Roll the Dice Challenge, which was also the last book in a quartet, Dünya by Orhan Kemal. The first two books of this series has been translated to English as My Father's House and The Idle Years, and I have done special Turkish shelf videos for both of those. I will link those down below. In this last book, we continue to follow the protagonist of the first two books. He's now married to a quite pretty young woman. However, although he's working as an accountant, he struggles with poverty. We learn how this poverty affects the marriage of this young couple who are very much in love. And we also learn the lives of the people in their neighborhood, as well as the close friend of the protagonist, who come from different economical and cultural backgrounds. Like the previous books in the series, I really did love the writing of Orhan Kemal. Though I discovered him quite late, he's one of the authors that I like his writing very much. Writing is very clear, on the point, and also quite literary, but also not overly exaggerated or flowery. I really do like his depiction of the regular people who are living in those times. Characters, especially in this book, were quite likable and also quite complex with their ambitions, desires, and also faults. And come to think about it, I think this last book in this series is my favorite. I am really hoping that this one will also be translated to English so that my international friends will have a chance to learn about the society in poverty in those times in Adana, Turkey. So overall, this last book was actually my favorite book of the month, and I gave Dünya by Orhan Kemal an 8 out of 10. So those were the 4 books that I finished, and 1 book that I DNF'd in the second half of November. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose who. Who means kim in Turkish, and kim is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.